Everybody accepts that. And hello, everybody. I'm Mark Alessi. I'm the Executive Director for the Business Incubator Association of New York State. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to be introducing Kerri Green, the Director of FLX Works. And FLX Works is a new member for BIANYS. BIANYS is a member-led trade association comprised of 120 business incubators, accelerators, and co-working spaces throughout New York State. And co-working is a new segment for the association. So we're excited to continue to bring on new members in that segment. BIANYS is looking to provide some programming for co-working spaces where they can be meeting with each other and learning from each other from various parts of New York State. And I know another one of our members that is a new member that I hope to have a new member highlight with in the future, just joined as well. And I'm excited that we are joined by the founding executive director for the Business Incubator Association of New York State. David Hockman is on the call. So
hi, everybody.
With that, I am going to hand it off and ask Kerri to first introduce herself and a little bit of her background, and then introduce FlexWorks. So you could do, as you go through the slide deck, or maybe give us a preamble. Kerri?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having us. We're very excited to be a part of BIANYS. Even before our doors were opened, we got involved. We came to Advocacy Day. It's really important to be involved and stay involved with organizations like this. So we're really thankful to be a partner with you and to be a member. So thank you for the opportunity. My name is Kerri Green. I'm the Senior Economic and Community Development Specialist at it's going to be a little tricky. So we just rebranded and just renamed. So I will probably say Scoped or Schuyler County Partnership at certain times, but we just rebranded under Finger Lakes Gateway, and you'll see that in just a moment. We just announced that just a few weeks ago at our annual meeting. So, with new come new things and new branding, and so that's who we are. I've been with the organization for about 2.5 years, and my background is in economic development, marketing, communications. I do grant writing, business assistance, pretty much anything you do to help a new business get started off the ground. We help bring organizations to the community, obviously, housing, manufacturing, all that comes with economic development to help a community. So this is not something I had ever done before, but now I can add project management of a co-working space to that resume. It's been an interesting trip so far, and I'll take you through a little bit of that in just a moment. So I'm excited to be here. Let me just jump right into my slides. It's probably easier to explain who it is and what we do. So once again, this is me. And so you see our new logo up top there, Finger Lakes Gateway, formerly Scoped. Our organization, as most economic development agencies, so we are a private nonprofit. So we're a member organization, Finger Lakes Gateway, but we do have a couple of associations with us. So one of them is Finger Lakes Gateway CDC, the Community Development Corporation. They are the 501c3 that is attached to our organization, and they are the board and the organization that is in charge of the co-working space. And I'll kind of explain that journey as we get there. And then, of course, FLX Works is part of that. But we all work together to manage the space and to bring it about. And it took a lot of hands, a lot of people, a lot of time. And actually, one of our board members is on the call today too. So thank you, Michaela, for joining us. So it all began with a dream back in the day. So we're going to go back a little bit to about 2016. Schuyler County Partnership, what was scoped, was looking to apply for the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. If you don't know what that is, it's been around for, I think, 10 years or so. Every region in New York State can apply for a $10 million downtown revitalization grant of $10 million. A couple of years ago, they expanded that program to help with the smaller rural communities that maybe $10 million was too much, and you can now apply up to $4.5 million. But that is the DRI, as we call it, as the state calls it, and you'll hear it referred to in this So we were looking to apply for that back in 2016. One of the projects back in the day was to create a co-working space. This was a brainchild of our executive director, and working with our CDC, decided it was the best way to try to get the funds for this project. We wanted to create a co-working space. Our offices were located, the scoped offices, FLX Gateway. We were located in the transportation center in Schuyler County. So when I first came for my first meeting, it was in the transportation center. Nice building, not exactly what you look for an economic development agency, especially one that's looking to be accredited down the road. We know that we needed a new home. We know that there was this calling for co-working spaces, that Watkins Glen would be a perfect place for it. And so this project was part of the original DRI application that Watkins Glen put in back when the program first started. So our initial application for this space included a space big enough for a co-working building and also an incubator kitchen. We recognized that not only was a co-working space something that the community could use and needed to continue to grow, but an incubator kitchen was something that we wanted to be able to offer to new businesses, those looking to expand, food trucks, all the things that go with co-working. And through this process, we did receive a $30,000 grant from ARC to help assist with the incubator kitchen. So we thought we were definitely on our way. We had a building selected actually across the street from where we are now, a very big building that would have housed both the co-working space and the incubator kitchen. And we won in 2017. We did not win in 2016, but we did win in 2017. And we were very excited to be able to move on with our entire DRI project. So like I said, it was a $10 million grant to revitalize our area of downtown Watkins Glen in Schuyler County. And this was one of the projects that was a part of this. We created a small business development fund. So not to get too in the weeds about how a DRI works, but you have your big massive projects, but then you also have the ones that are done with the village or the municipality. But then you also have this small local development fund, which is a portion of the money that individuals could apply for upgrades to their buildings. And we did a lot of the work through the small development fund. And one of the projects identified was the co-working space. And like with most projects and most great ideas, we hit a number of roadblocks. So I didn't come on scene until 2022. So some of this are things that I've been told. I lived a big chunk of this, but some of the things that we ran into was timing. It took a very long time to pull this project together, much longer than we initially thought. When I started in early September of 2022, we had our new site was picked, and I'll get to that in just a second. We were getting ready to start construction. We only just opened this past July, so July of 24. So that just tells you these things take a lot longer than you sometimes plan. One of the complications we ran into was the original building that we wanted to go to did not work out. There were a number of issues with the building. It was unsafe. That building actually got torn down not that long ago. So we had to scramble and find a new location, which meant a new partner, which, you always say, if plan A doesn't work, plan B does. And sometimes plan B works out a little bit better. It worked out that one of our DRI applicants, his name is Jim Guild, owned the building that we're currently in. On the first floor is the Chamber of Commerce. The second and third floors were completely empty. And he wanted to do something to really help give back to the community. And so he, through conversations with our executive director, offered up the second floor of the space for not only our offices, but for the co-working space. And because he already had a DRI award to do the outside of the building, we were able to fold in the co-working space into this. Now, where the CDC comes into play is that scoped, because we are the administrator of the DRI, we could not apply for money. You definitely can't do that. So we went to the CDC, which is our 501c3, and our Community Development Corporation, and asked them if they would want to do this for us, with us, and their board agreed to take this project on. So it really worked out very well. We love the location that we're in, but again, it's, there's complications happen, and you just pivot and do what's next. So with that, we had a delayed start. We finally got started. So as I said, in September of 2022, the location had been selected. I remember standing in this big open space, no walls. I have a picture in a minute, I'll show you. and saying, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're moving in, and we are moving in February. We were gonna get it done in the fall. We were gonna get walls up. We were gonna move our offices and open the co-working space. We thought, first quarter of 2023 was the plan. We ran into some issues with our contractor. We ended up having to let them go and recalibrate once again. Thankfully, our vice chair at the time had a lot of background in construction, and he took on as our general contractor in this. And we were able to move forward with new subcontractors, him handling the contracting side, me handling the project management side of this. But it really caused a lot of delays. Of course, we started to run out of money because our initial money that we spent with the contractor was spent, but some of the work wasn't done, and we had to redo it, and just on and on and on. I like to say, anything that could have happened with this construction project that could have went wrong did. But we never lost our resolve. The board, everybody, just sort of, dug in their heels and said, we're going to do what we need to do. We found new ways to bring in new money. We applied for grants. We were able to get I applied for a grant through the Empire State Development the first year that they had their nonprofit capital grant, and we won a $100,000 grant from them, which was really huge for this project. We got a couple local small grants. We did fundraising. We really did what we had to try to, come up with the money. And at some points it was, okay, we have this next part of the project to do, but we need the money before we can do it. And we really just, through kindness of others and donations, and really, again, the kindness of Jim Guild, who owns the building, and some things we were able to work out with him, we finally got the momentum that we needed to move forward. Even then, when we were ready to open in July, we had a ribbon, this July of 2024, we had a ribbon cutting planned. Everybody was coming. The state was coming. It was be this big deal. And our air conditioning still hadn't been installed, and it was so hot. This big open space, we were ready to go. And literally the morning of the ribbon cutting, they got the air conditioning working. So these things just happened. It worked out. The final roadblock we had, which turned out to be a good thing, was our technology. We really invested in technology that would make this entire space hands-off for the most part, and 24/7. But when we invested in the technology, we didn't realize we'd have such a hard time finding one to install the technology. So finally, in September of 2024, we were what I would call fully open, fully operational with the technology in place. So like I said, anybody who's been a part of projects like this know you're going to run into things, and we just did everything we could. We just kept moving forward, did what we had to, ducked and covered. I mean, everybody has their hand in there. Everybody, on the board, and me, and we put together furniture, we painted walls, we did trim, we anything that could be done, we just did what had to be done to make this happen. So it's really a testament to the resolve of wanting to get this project going. The board, scoped, and the FLX Gateway board and the county and everybody just doing what they had to make it happen.
Impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So here's just some before pictures. It's funny to look at these again now. So you'll see a picture. This picture with all the windows is our main space, and you'll see what it looks like now. But this is what we walked into, before everything got going. This picture to the upper right is where our office suite is. But it really was nothing. It was just big open ceiling, open space, open floor plan, no walls. Here's another couple pictures. This one picture to my left is the elevator, and then the picture to the right is looking straight back at the space. There's stairs that go up to a third floor, which continues to be nothing at the moment. The left is now a conference room, and the right is our office suite, and you can see the elevator in the back there. Just want to give you some context so when you see the other photos. And this is what the original floor plan was. So you can see to the lower right of the screen is our office suite. So I think going back, I told you we were planning to move in that February of 23. We moved in. We had the rest of the space was exactly like these other pictures that I just showed you. Our offices were mostly done. A lot had to be fixed and updated. There was no heat. So there was a very cold winter. I remember we moved in. It was, I think, second week of March. With no heat, and we just stuck it out and did what we had to. And everybody scrambled to try to, okay, let's get this office suite together and let's get some heat together. And we didn't have a bathroom for a while. And, we've really easily found where we could, use the restroom nearby. Again, we just did what we had to do because we had to get out of our other space, and we had said we were leaving. But just things that we can laugh about now. But this is our office suite. We have a conference room, and then the entire 2/3 of this space is the co-working space. We have 3 private offices. There's open floor plan for people who come in that just want to have an open flexible workspace. We have a kitchen, a front area, another conference room in the front that is rentable, and then 3 phone booths. So if you are an open workspace person but you have a private call or a Zoom you want to go on, you can go in one of the phone booths and have a more private conversation. But that's the floor plan, and this is what it looks like. So this picture to the right, those windows, that's that first picture I mentioned and said that's the room with all the windows with no walls. That's what it looks like now. You can see one of the private offices. We have desks that are adjustable, go up and down. We're trying to really make it for anybody for whatever kind of setting they want to be in. We have a little sitting area. This is our conference room that you can rent that's in the front of the building, and then our really nice kitchen is there, fully stocked. And this is our office suite in the back. So you can see one of the offices, that elevator that you saw before, and then the hallway looking out into the co-working space. So this is our suite. So just a few things that make our co-working space so great is, first of all, we're in downtown Watkins Glen. Beautiful place to be, as we were talking about before the webinar started. There's a lot to do downtown. There's lots of little shops and stores and walkable places. You can go get a cup of coffee or some lunch or meet, have meetings with people, places to buy gifts, and just lots to do. Also, the Chamber of Commerce, the Watkins Glen Chamber of Commerce, is on the first floor of our building. So we really try to work together with them and refer people to each other, help each other out when they're starting their business. Tourism is huge in our area. There's a lot going on. We were talking about the beautiful waterfalls and the beautiful area. We have the Glen and all the wineries and breweries and the state parks. It's just beautiful places to be. We really think that the tourism community is going to be a huge group that's going to use this space this summer, now that we're fully operational and open. So we're excited to see what those numbers look like. We are fully automated. We made a significant investment into a system that not only handles our CMS, which is our customer management system, but it integrates with our door locking system. So you can go online and book to either come in for a 1-day pass or rent our offices or the conference room, and it's fully automated. You will be sent a QR code to your phone that unlocks the front door so you can get inside. And it's timed out. So, if I want to go in and book for a co-working space for this weekend, say I want to rent it for 2 days, I'm going to be in town. It doesn't start counting down until I actually show up and unlock the door. So it's really wonderful. And that was a big part of this, is to not have one person that had to physically, give access, give keys, contact people individually. It's all fully automated. Payments are taken online. Our space is very secure. We have security cameras installed. We have a recording. We can always look back if something happens or we're not sure about something. We can look back and watch from a remote location, so people can feel safe and secure there. Again, flexibility. We are ADA accessible. There's an elevator that comes up from the back. So the back entrance is not open to everybody, but if you are somebody who needs that accessibility, we can program your access code to give you access to the back door and to the elevator. We are a nonprofit, so FLX Gateway CDC is a 501c3, and they are the ones who technically have the space. But FLX Gateway is the day-to-day administrator of the space, and that also saves money. We're not paying for somebody to sit out front. You're not, again, we don't need that. So you're not paying for someone to sit out front and welcome people and show them people. Because our office is in the same space, when people come up and want to see the space or have questions, we're the ones to answer that. We have a contact us on our website, and we take care of that as messages and requests come through. And then the board is assisting with the marketing and promoting of the space as well. This is a screenshot of what our booking system. We use 2 systems. One is called Cobot. So this is a screenshot from Cobot. And so when you go to book, this is what you come to, and then you scroll down. It will give you the opportunity to buy a membership, buy a day pass, book a conference room, and then Keezy is our door locking system. And again, it was a significant investment, but we did it because we're planning this for the future. We weren't saying, what do we need today? Could we made keys work? Could we have made swipes work? Yeah, we don't have as many people. We're just, still within our first year of being open, but we weren't building it for today. We were building it for tomorrow. And so down the road, we're hoping that we're going to have 10, 15 people a day in there. We're hoping that the conference rooms are going to be used, and we wanted it to be as hands-off as possible to make it less of a burden on the staff managing the space. Just want to go through some of the programming that we've had so far this year. So under at Finger Lakes Gateway, we've started a Skypreneur Bootcamp program. And so we've had 2 sessions already, and our third one is coming up at the end of April. So FLX Gateway is using the main space of the co-working space to hold these bootcamp sessions. We've had a good group that's coming. It's a small group, but they're people who are interested in opening a business. They need some guidance, some support. We're partnering with the Southern Tier Startup Alliance to hold these programs, and Incubator Works has also been a partner with us as well, and they are an incubator. We've held some FLX After Works events. So these are specific to the people who are using the co-working space. We're also opening it up to the community. We have some food, we have some drinks, we have a speaker, and we are trying to give people an opportunity to come in, see the space, create that networking with other coworkers so they don't feel so alone. If somebody's coming in on Mondays, but somebody else is coming in on Wednesdays, we wanted to create an atmosphere where they could come together and work together. And these are just some shots of some of the events and programs that we've had in our co-working space. You see, it's very versatile from the conference room to the main space. It also looks really nice, great place to take photos. Everyone always asks about the money. So this is just a breakdown of how we did this project. So the total project was just under $400,000. We received money from the DRI, about $130,000, the couple of grants that I mentioned. Our Schuyler County IDA and also Finger Lakes Gateway both gave money, and we also had private donations and fundraising to make this happen. Slowly but surely. It took a while to do it, but we found every source we could to try to just chip away at to get the project done in the best way possible. So what's down the road? We're hoping that this year will be our first year to really see what the co-working space could be. We've had some monthly members, we've had some drop-in pass users, we've started to get conference room bookings. We're just hoping that with the warmer weather, finally almost here, although not this week, we're hoping that those users are more frequent. It'll be a really good testament to what the co-working space could be. We have some ads coming out. We're working closely with the Chamber and WGI, and we're putting ads out through social media and using all of those sources to try to promote the space, the offices, and really want to get that booked so we have the money coming in. We'll continue to add programming and also market to those people who are coming in to use the space. And of course, Incubator, we are not what you probably call at this point a certified incubator, but we are an incubator in terms of we incubate businesses. We are hoping that the office rentals will be people who are looking to start a business. They have a low cost place to come in and begin. Our goal is to grow into what you would call an actual incubator that, by the state standard, but we're just at the starting gate of this. So it'll be interesting to see the next couple of years how this grows. There's a whole 3rd floor of the space that's unrenovated, undeveloped at this point. The incubator kitchen is something that keeps coming up. So I think the future of the space will really depend on who uses it, what the needs of the community are, and we'll just have to sort of wait and see. And I mentioned this before. I really like this quote: "Success in life is not how well we execute plan A, it's how we cope with plan B." I think Michaela would probably agree. We're probably on plan D and E at this point, but we've made the best of it, and we're really proud of the space. I'm really happy to have done this. So that is it.
That was great. Wow. I am just blown away with how agile everybody was in dealing with, what was thrown at you. I'm involved with a very big capital project myself right now. I know things can go sideways pretty quickly, and the ability to pivot and deal with it. You guys, the fact that you had board members painting and putting together furniture is really
Yes.
impressive. You obviously have a great board, and it sounds
Yeah.
like a huge community effort. The fact that you did fundraising, being a 501c3, obviously they were able to get some tax benefits out of that, which is fantastic.
Mm.
I'm going to ask a few questions, then I'll open it
Sure.
up with some of our guests that are on the call as well. And one of the first things I was going to ask, because you mentioned the technology that was a big focus of implementing technology with the space. And I wrote down that I wanted to ask a little bit more about that. But so I'm going to focus, I guess, more on Cobot and Kissy. Is that
Hmm. Yep.
primarily the technology that you looked at? And having a handful of co-working spaces involved with BIANYS now, I'm wondering if this is some of the more mainstream technological platforms for entry and management, or do you see many others? Is it a very competitive space in terms of the?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. So obviously, before we did anything, I spent a lot of time researching. I spoke to so many co-working spaces across the country, and I just called them and said, "Hey, we're building this space. Could you tell us what you use for door access? We knew that we wanted to try to do something that was as hands-off as possible. So it wasn't me physically going in and approving someone's space. Here's how you get your key. Well, we needed it to be if you came in town on a Friday night and you needed the space for Saturday, you could get access without having to deal with a person. That really was the goal. So I talked to probably 10 different co-working spaces across the country. I had a really good conversation with one in New York City. I believe it's called the Austin Space. There was actually an article that came out about them, and I think Judy had shared it with me. So I called them, and I had a really great conversation with them. They gave us a lot of really good information, and at the time, they were using the Cobot Keysy. Because what we were finding out was there were a lot of great door locking systems, but we needed something that could integrate with a CMS system. So, and that's really what we needed. We needed people to be able to pay online, book online, have it be timestamped, but also manage the door locking system. So, through sort of trial and error, there were a couple of them that I did presentations on. I called them and they set up a time and they showed me their system. But it really, this was the one that sort of shone through as the doing what we wanted the best. Initially, we thought we could do this with our wireless provider. They had said, "Oh, sure, we can do that," but it turned out it was badges. It wasn't going to be hands-free. There was no CMS that can integrate with it. They're like, "That's a great idea." I said, "Great, but we need it now. So we can't wait for you to develop it. Go ahead and do it for someone else, but we need something that can work now." We were running out of time. And I talked with people. I got some referrals from them for people who used Cobot and Keysy and had some really great recommendations on it. So that just really seemed to be the worst of it. Cobot isn't too expensive. The initial implementation was a little bit. The Keysy investment was quite significant,
Right.
but it's very. I would say it's top of the line in terms of what you need for something like this.
Probably save, it probably has paid for itself by now in terms of staff time and just the headaches that would.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
And then again, back to the scrappiness of the board and the team. No heat and no bathroom in the first winter, and you guys still made it work. That is just actually unheard of. That's just
It's I
fantastic.
know. We just, what, we knew we just did what we had to do. We all adjusted. We all made it work, and we knew that ultimately it was going to be a great space. We knew it was something the community needed. And so we were resilient and they were resilient and everybody was really kind and gracious with us. So
It's
it
great.
made it easier to do.
You have a great team. So how many folks are on the team? And then I'm going to start asking a little bit about some of the demographics of the companies that you're seeing or the companies in the area. But just how big is the team now? Like for
So yeah,
everybody.
so scoped FLX Gateway, there's three of us. So it's myself, we have an office manager, and then our executive director. And then the FLX Gateway board of directors, I believe, is 9 right now. So there's three of us on the admin side, and then the board of directors.
And then
Yeah.
where's the board pulled from? Are they local businesses, other government agencies, or what is the board?
No, so this board is well, they're vetted by the board and people, we do have a board matrix, so we're always looking for people with special skill sets. So, marketing, legal, obviously Brian with his project, management contracting, that was not something that, that we thought we
Right.
needed, but thankfully we had that. So yeah, they're just it's not necessarily pulled from government officials, although we do have somebody from the legislature who's on our board now. It's really just by vetting people. We're a community development corp. Here's our mission. Here's what we do. Is it something that you want to give your time and be involved with? And a lot of conversations
Right.
to grow it. Yep.
And so in terms of the companies in general in Watkins Glen or the surrounding region, is it, what are the more prevalent industries? And then are you seeing companies that are looking to start up that are more tied to those industries, or are you seeing some diversity there?
Yeah, definitely seeing diversity. I would say the people who have been our day-to-day renters, our drop-in pass users, have been mostly small business owners, people who work out of their home. They want to get out of their home. We have one woman who joined us. I mean, give her credit. Back in July, when we didn't have air conditioning, she was like, "I've been waiting for you to open. Yes, I'm coming." So she's been with us since the beginning, and so she's someone who's just worked out of her home. She had a young child at home, wanted to get out of her house.
Right.
And that's a lot of what we're seeing. People who are sort of looking for a more office setting, but want to get out of their home, want to pull that away from there. So that's mostly what we've been seeing. People traveling in town, they need a spot to work for a couple of days. That happens a lot. Um, in terms of the corporations, the businesses around us, so we're not too awfully far from, Corning, Cornell. We've got there's definitely some bigger industries around us. We've been working to create more of a connectivity with them. And one of the ideas that the board has been talking about is talking with them about, hey, you've got people who work remotely. Maybe you can buy so many passes a month and give them to your people who live out this way. And so that's something that we're looking at developing and growing, trying to get more of those the corporate buy-in for the space that we have.
That's
We've
great.
had our conference room has been booked by some bigger companies who are looking for just an offsite space. They can have a team meeting, or there was a senior team training one day. The conference room is a nice space for sessions and small presentations. We have technology, also the other technology investments. We've got a TV in there and an owl that people can plug into. In our main room, we have a overhead projector, a throw projector, and a drop down screen. So we've definitely invested in the technology needed to really cover whatever somebody would need.
Fantastic. And then I've said it before in other contexts, but it's just you're proving it true that you happen to be in a region that's very collaborative. So, the Southern Tier Startup Alliance is a hotspot that really does put in the effort to reach out to other organizations like yours throughout the region and provide services. And in terms of working with Ashley Madison and their group, they seem to have a lot of locations throughout
Hmm.
that region and other regions, but do an amazing job. So I love seeing that collaboration. So
Yeah.
I'm going to flip it to folks in the audience that might have a question, and maybe I'm going to give some deference to my predecessor and the founding executive director of BIANYS to see if he has a question first.
Oh, I got questions.
Oh boy.
No, no,
I get a sip of water here.
they're not hostile. So let me add to Mark's congratulations. It's a beautiful space. And by the way, your slides are very good too. They're very easy to digest, very nice and low information density. This is
Thank you.
something you struggle with when you coach entrepreneurs who like to do the three-depth PowerPoint bullets, and you can't do that, and yours are really nicely done.
Thanks.
So the reason I'm interested and why I knew I wanted to come on the call is that during the time I was running the association, probably one of the most common questions I got from people who just called me cold, the way you were calling co-working spaces cold, was I'm in a small town in a predominantly rural area. I don't have a direct connection with a higher ed institution. Do I have a shot at opening an incubator? So I was very curious to see how you've approached it. And Mark, you and Mark kind of both got at this of how stage one is the co-work and stage two may be a formal incubator,
Hmm.
which I think is the right way to think about it. I have some practical questions and some philosophical questions. So practically, the question is, if you exclude the area that you've set aside for your own offices and think just about the co-working space, is it designed to break even if you hit the utilization you're aiming for, or will it require ongoing subsidy from the C3?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the C3 does have a fundraising goal. We're trying to hit that equalization. Because we're still new and still building, we haven't quite hit that mark yet. We're still very slow going and getting renters, and it's been winter. So we do have a utilization that we figured out we need to hit to make money. Um, So, but the 501c3 is going to be continuing to do fundraising. They just held a fundraising dinner, made a couple $1,000s last week, as an ultimate goal. So what happens is FLX Gateway is the administrator of the space. And for the administrator, for my time, and which, it's a lot, um, we receive a percentage of the profit. And then the C3 gets the remainder. So through that, yes, there's a utilization rate we need to hit so that everybody makes good. Right now everyone's just doing what they need to, including the FLX Gateway is just doing what they need to do to make things work. But yes, it's continuing to get to that utilization, but in the meantime, doing fundraising and continuous looking for grants and fundraising to help supplement programs that we're doing.
Yeah, no, I'd encourage you to hold on till you get within sight of that rate, because
Mhm.
there'll be pressures on you if it takes longer than you think. But one of the great virtues of doing it in a nonprofit context is you can take your time, and there are opportunities to make up deficits, at least in the short term. And if you can get, if you could get to break even, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Profit is a nice goal. That might be a couple of years out, but
Yeah.
I think with the kind of team that you have, you should be able to get to break even pretty soon. And I love the operating model that you described. The philosophical question I have relates to the transition to incubator. Typically incubators get more into the business of entrepreneurs and, help them, whether they want the help or not, more on developing their business plans. And it occurs to me that, Mark, you kind of touched on this by asking about which sectors are using the facility and whether it matches up with the neighborhood. You can actually encourage those connections as you move closer to that goal. And one way to think about structuring the social events, like when Brad comes to address a group, is to kind of focus them on one of the regional industries and see if you can bring out of the woodwork people who are interested in solving problems for those sectors. So you
Mm.
could have a vineyard-oriented session where the vintners come and describe what their challenges are and what kind of innovators might be able to solve them, and you can coalesce a group of entrepreneurs who might be interested in serving them. Or honestly, the race industry.
Mhm.
Over the summer, there's a high technical component to racing, and there are people who love it and are not necessarily in the business themselves, who might have ideas on how to serve it. Even going as far afield as we were talking about the glider industry in
Mm.
Elmira. I mean, there are many opportunities to try to focus the interest of local entrepreneurial people on existing sectors that could use some innovation. And I don't know if
Mm.
it's a question so much as a suggestion, but to me, that's as you kind of run out of excuses to do social events, you can structure them more formally around the needs of those sectors. But I think it's a great track to be on, and really you have warm congratulations.
I want to
Thank
make a
you.
specific suggestion, if I may.
Yeah.
I was in an incubator for 10 years. I set one up on Long Island. I solicited, and I'm with Titan Bioplastics. We're heavily involved in sort of new types of materials for energy. And we've actually looked at the Kaufman incubator up in Binghamton. And what I was going to suggest to you is what I would call technology migration, which means you go to Binghamton, specifically target energy entrepreneurs, and offer Watkins Glen as sort of a retreat for R&D think tanking that somehow is a more creative environment. I'm near Cold Spring Harbor, and Cold Spring Harbor is molecular biology. It's one of the top in the world, actually, but it's got a very sort of artistic environment for the scientists to work in. It's got sort of a creative environment, and so I think, from my involvement, if I was looking at what you just offered, I would target that specific industry and anything relating to, let's say, IT, where I can transcommute, and then specifically target those groups and identify features from Watkins Glen, for going an hour and a half from where you were to hanging out here. What's the reason you guys are going to do that? But I think those sectors would be strategically kind of the right way to go long term.
Thank you very much.
Well, this was definitely unique. Thank you, David and David, for the questions and comments. And Kerri, thank you for this introduction. I got a better sense of what you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to getting to Watkins Glen and seeing.
Great.
I call it FLX Works. Is that completely inappropriate?
It's FLX Works.
Okay.
FLX, whatever. Yeah. It's okay.
I won't change my vernacular.
I was
okay.
last in the village in 2021, but now you've given me a reason to come back.
Well, the DRI that I talked about is complete. We actually just filed it with the state in December. So the changes in downtown Watkins Glen, this project included, have been really. My dog's quiet as long as you could. Hey, sorry.
I have a question.
Yeah, was it for Luna or for me? Luna.
No, for you. How far is Cornell from you, just out of curiosity?
About half an hour.
Okay. That's
not,
another
yeah, not too
tap-in
far.
point. That's a really good tap-in point as well.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
how booked up is Ashley's facility in Elmira? Are they fully booked?
I do not know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, one of the tricky things about doing what David suggested is you can raise defensiveness and that you're trying to steal companies. But if people are fully booked, then there's an opportunity to work together.
I was suggesting satellite offices that would be sort of retreats for the company and really offer it as a creative environment, and not really as for planning or competing, but just, hey, get a retreat together, get some ideation going. You're in a creative business environment, use us and our natural setting to get more productivity.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah. And, to the earlier comment about collaboration, Incubator Works, Ashley's been a huge supporter and advocate of us. Like I said, she's coming to all of our Skypreneur sessions. She's very active and vocal and talks with them about the programs they have. And we're not looking to be competitive. I think we all have something a little bit different to offer. Brad, Southern Tier Startup Alliance, Rev was one of the places I went to when I was first looking at this project. So everyone's been extremely supportive. They all see that there's enough for all of us. So I like the idea of that collaboration, and thank you for the suggestion about the retreats. I think that's a good idea.
I do too.
Yeah.
I got one more industry sector to think about in the Southern Tier, which I know you're technically in Finger Lakes, but you're.
Well, we're Southern Tier.
You are Southern Tier,
Yeah.
okay. So Finger Lakes Works, but you're in the Southern Tier, okay. Is the transportation sector around Hornell and Horseheads. There's a lot going on with rail construction in both those communities, and the REDC, the Regional Economic Development Council, has not done a lot to promote innovative entrepreneurs serving those industries. The way those industries are structured is a lot of the high value engineering is kept back in Europe or Asia, depending on where the manufacturer comes from. In this case, I guess Europe. And they don't they're assemblers, but there's an opportunity, I think, to connect innovators with the people who come to the plant from headquarters and have an understanding of the higher value engineering needs of the company. And you're not that far. You're not that far from those places. And to me, that's another sector that you could serve that I don't think Incubator Works really serves.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's a wrap. I want to thank you for your time, Kerri. And like I said, I think we all want to find a reason to get up there. So
please do.
Pleasure.
Newsletter. So
yes, thank you very much. Thank you for having us and for everything that BIANYS does.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
take care all.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Are you sure?